of Toastmasters workshops. Our presenter is no stranger to Toastmasters, has been a very involved fellow. He's a 2 times past president. He's the charter member of Gateway to Toastmasters in Newark, New Jersey. He's a past area governor. He has his CC, he has his AC Bronze, and an ACL. One of his great accomplishments is that he has a son that's currently attending law school, of whom he's very proud. The title of today's presentation is Personality Colors, and I'll read it because it's quite a lengthy title. How to use the knowledge of colors to improve your professional, personal, and social relationships. Please, everyone, let's welcome Derek Hawkins.
How's everybody doing? Good. Good. You can do better. How's everybody doing this evening? Good. I want you to carry over that energy that you had earlier today when you heard from Ms. Stephanie Burrows. I'm going to talk about personality colors, as Helen just said. I want to also thank her for introducing me warmly. Thank you, Helen.
You're welcome.
My responsibility this evening is going to be to share some information with you that you can use to improve your relationships, whether it's a personal relationship, whether it's a professional relationship, whether it's a social relationship. And also I'm going to talk about how you can use that and how you can apply that to Toastmasters. But before I get started, I want you guys to feel the warmth that I felt coming up here, because it's always good when somebody introduces you and says nice things about you. I want you to look to the neighbor to your left and the neighbor to your right. I want you to say to them, you look good, but I look even better. And Helen actually gave a brief introduction this evening. And the reason that she did a brief introduction is because I want to tell you a little bit about myself, because it's actually part of my presentation. It's part of me getting to understand and know who I am, and that's part of the training today. Again, Derek Hawkins, I'm a 2-time past club president, as she said. I was a past area governor as well. I was a charter member of the Gateway Toastmasters, which is a growing club right now. My greatest accomplishment right now, as she mentioned, is that my son is in law school. And to see him accomplish that, that's for me, that's one of my greatest accomplishments. And I'm a competent leader. Now that's who I am in Toastmasters. Now who am I professionally? Graduate of Columbia University back in 1984, School of Engineering and Applied Science. I took that engineering degree and went on to work for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. And I know I don't have any passes today. Anybody's looking for that. For the last 26 years, I was a founding partner in an investment club. Almost 20-some years ago, we had a small crash back then, but it's nothing like we see today. I'm a natural entrepreneur on the internet and network marketer, and I'm also a public speaker and a trainer. So now you know who I am professionally. Who am I socially? Toastmaster, like many of you. Sports enthusiast. I played high school basketball, college basketball, a little bit of semi-professional basketball. I'm a music lover, a very avid music lover. I DJ in college, in fact. I love old school music, R&B music. Some of you might know what that is. Smooth jazz, kind of aging myself. But and one of the things that I love to do is I like to mentor to high school students and junior high school students, get a chance to go back to the community and let them know that there's opportunities for them out there. And again, my greatest accomplishment again is that my son is in law school. Again, your success, whether again professionally, personally, in social relationships, is directly related to understanding the we're going to talk about 4 basic personality styles. Some people call them behavioral styles. I'm going to call them colors today because I think it's easier to remember colors. And your ability to adapt to the different personality types is going to also determine how successful you are in relationships. It's one thing to know about yourself in terms of who you are. And I think Ms. Burrows did a great job earlier today talking about who she is and whose she is. Once you know who you are, and then you understand the people that you're related to, it makes a big difference in terms of the interaction that takes place in your relationships. Now, I basically have 3 main objectives. My first objective is to give you some basic information, the basic understanding of the 4 personality types. Now, there are 4, I would say, generic or general personality types, but it could be as many as 16 if you really break it down and really delve into it. But because of the way we interact today with a fast-paced society, you don't have that much time to really get to know someone that well to get that deep into 16 different personalities. It's going to make it simple and make it fun. So you can pretty much identify someone's personality type by some visual, I call some visual things that you can see as well as things you can feel and touch. We're going to use those colors again to determine that. The second objective is to show you how to identify the personality traits or behavioral styles of other people. Again, some of the things are going to be visual, some of the things are going to be things you can hear, some of the things are going to be personal occupation. There's a lot of different things that kind of give you an idea what that person's personality type is, but on the other hand, people can also adapt and change. And again, so you can't go by that all the time, but it gives you, about 95% of the time, you can pretty much determine someone's personality type. You pay attention to it. What I call the opposite. Again, the third thing is to show you how to adapt to what I call a preferred personality type, because even though there's 4 personality types, each and every one of us, and each and every one of you, has all 4 personality types within you. But there's usually 1 or 2 that are more dominant, that stand out far above the other 2 or 3. Now, if you get really good in terms of adapting and adjusting to people, most people can't tell what your dominant personality is. We call that being a chameleon. Now, why is that important? When you do a presentation, when you're working with someone in a business, when you're dealing with an audience, whether you're dealing with someone socially, if you know that there's 4 different personality types in the room, or there's 4 different personality types that you're dealing with, if you only cater or focus on one personality type, you alienate the other 75% of the people in the room, and the other personality types in the room. And that's why it's important, if you do a presentation, is you want to incorporate all those different personality styles, if you can, into your presentation. Whether it's an interview, whether it's an interaction, you want to incorporate all those, particularly if you go out and you're going to be amongst people, if you're out networking, you're at a Toastmasters event. If you want to fit in with everybody at the event, it is better if you can understand different personalities, because now you can adapt and relate to everybody that's in the room. Now, I must make a disclaimer. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a social worker. My experiences come from 25 years of working in sales and marketing. I have 6 brothers and 2 sisters. Learned a lot about personality. Living in close quarters for several years. And just dealing with people. I'm a good listener. I've always been a good listener. That's one of my strengths. I've always been good at listening to what other people say. And as they say, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should use in that proportion. And if you listen to people, they will tell you what to say to help you relate to them better. Unfortunately, a lot of people talk over other people. They don't actually hear what they're saying. But if you listen to people when they speak, they will tell you what motivates them, what drives them, what moves them, what's their passion. But if you're always talking to someone, you can't really hear what they're saying. There was an experiment done where a college professor took a bunch of his students on a trip on an airplane. And he said, we're going to do an experiment. When you get on an aircraft, whoever you sit next to, I don't want you to say anything about yourself. All I want you to do is ask questions and keep talking, and let them keep talking about themselves. Because let's face it, who's the most important person in your life? You. What's your favorite subject? Right. So they did this experiment. Students allowed people to talk. They asked questions throughout the ride. And when they got to the other side, they actually did a survey. And they asked people, well, how was your trip? And the people who sat next to those students who didn't say anything about themselves, they only asked them questions. They said, man, I met the greatest person that I've ever got a chance to be in my life. And the reason was because they only talked about themselves. Right? Because people like talking about themselves. But unfortunately, most people think listening means waiting for your turn to talk. There's a big difference. Okay? So again, I'm going to show you how to identify the major, what I call personality styles in each of the people that you talk with. Now, there's some added benefits and again, I kind of get it towards Toastmaster because at the Toastmaster, a lot of these things apply as well. And again, Toastmaster can be seen as a personal, professional, as well as a social network. Now, I'm going to talk about establishing instant rapport with members and guests. It's important because when guests visit your club for the first time, if they're not welcome, they don't feel warm, and you don't relate to them, you'll lose them to other members. We have, fortunately, have a club in Gateway. We have a nice open club. We have a lot of members. They're a very diverse group. And a lot of the people that come and visited other clubs. And they said, I'm going to join your club. And they say really because of how we made them feel. You can inspire club members to take action. If you understand the people that you're dealing with, many of us are mentors to new members of the club. And sometimes the mentors don't necessarily match that well with the new members. And I don't think we give enough attention to that. But if you know you have a new member that has a certain personality style or behavioral style, and you have someone who matches and fits that, that will work well for them as a mentor. But if you have somebody whose personality is totally clash, you can lose that member. And that's what happened to some clubs. They lose members because they didn't put them with the right person. I remember years ago, we had a gentleman in our club. He was a harsh evaluator. I mean, he would evaluate people, and you ever get that feeling when something was so harsh, you make that face like, that's how we feel every time they get an evaluation, because it always made the person feel like they didn't do a good job. He didn't give them any credit. He only focused on everything they did wrong, never gave them any suggestion doing better, just ripped them apart. And people would, people stopped coming to the club. So it's very important to understand that. If you understand personality types, you can evaluate people as well according to their personality, behavioral style, and you'll get more out of them if you follow that pattern. Okay. You're also going to get a chance to reduce conflicts and personality clashes. Who would love to reduce conflict in their club? Not all of you. Some like them. Okay, some like the drama. Cooperation and deal with difficult people. And you also get a chance to enhance people's strengths and minimize their weaknesses, because in each personality type, there are some definitely strengths, but there are also weaknesses in each. It's not to say one is any better than the other, but once you understand your strengths and your weaknesses, you can use them to your advantage. And then once you know other people's strengths and weaknesses, you can relate to them better. You become more tolerant, you become more patient, you understand why people do the things they do. Because I know somebody, it happens to you, it happens to me sometimes. Somebody does something, you can't understand why they did it. Anybody have that feeling besides that? Somebody does something, you say, I can't understand why they did it. And it's not that you maybe can't understand, you can't relate to them because their personality styles and types are different. So that's why that lack of understanding comes. So it's important. And it dramatically improves your club relationships overall. If you have better club relationships, you often have better results with the club. Who would like to grow their club this year? Take some of what I'm going to share with you today and apply it, and you're going to see a tremendous growth in your clubs. Now I'm going to give you a brief history. Again, I'm not an expert in any of these fields, but behavioral studies go back a long way. It goes way back to early astrologers, where they used the 12 zodiac signs, and they broke it down into 4 different elements. And again, I told you I like old school music, but every once in a while I might digress. And they broke the elements into earth, wind, and fire. I'm sorry, earth, air, water, and fire. And that's what they use to determine your personality. Now, Hippocrates, a Greek physician and a philosopher, he used terms like phlegmatic, sanguine, melancholy, and choleric. I think that's the word. Now, if someone was to tell you that you were any one of those things, how many people here would know what that meant? Somebody does. Okay. Some people know what that means. When I first saw those things, I said, wow, imagine if I said today I'm going to do a presentation on, instead of colors, on phlegmatic, sanguine, melancholy, choleric personality types. How many of you would come to this presentation? I know some of you would show up just to figure out what is it. I can't believe it. Right? So we're not going to use those terms. Now, Dr. Carl Jung, in 1921, wrote a book called Psychological Types. And the reason he wrote the book, he wanted to figure out why Sigmund Freud thought the way he did about personality types. Now, Sigmund Freud kind of focused on sexual behaviors as a determination of your personality types. And he couldn't understand that. So he developed a different way of identifying. He spent a lot of time. In fact, he developed the most detailed and scientific work on personality during his time. He created a 4-category what we call model style. And he used words like feeler, sensor, thinker, and intuitor. Now those words are replanted because those words actually mean what they actually sound like. So when I say feeler, it's somebody who has feeling. Thinker, somebody who thinks a lot. Intuitor, somebody who's intuitive. And obviously a sensor, somebody who's more relationship driven. Now since then, there have been dozens of philosophers, sociologists, and people that study behaviors have come up with a lot of ways to actually explain personality types. They use things like food, animals, automobiles, birds, weather, blood, even seasoning describe personality types. Now, I don't know about the seasoning part. That might be a little offensive, right? You might say, yeah, your salt, your olive, you don't want me to describe that right now. So I'm not going to use any of those. To do something simple. Here's another one. Anybody know what an Enneagram? Am I saying that right? Toastmasters? Enneagram? Now, it's a universal symbol seen all over the world. Dr. Donald Richard Rizzo actually broke the personality types into 9 different categories. Again, one's a reformer. I'm not talking about somebody from AA. Somebody's a helper. A status seeker. Anybody know any status seekers? We don't have any Toastmasters. How about an artist? The left brain, right brain, the thinker. Other thinkers in here. The loyalist. Sound like a movie. The generalist. The leader, the peacemaker. Well, we can relate to almost different terms, but there's 9 categories, right? I want to actually make it simple and break it down to 4 categories. I think I skipped that on purpose. Anybody recognize this diagram? Yeah. Myers-Briggs, 16 different categories, 4 different letters to describe you. I think I took a 3-day class to figure out what my 4-letter personality type is. I said, boy, that was detailed. It's on the borderline. It's too detailed. So I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to take you down that path. Now, these are just some of the resources that I use to get my information. Just so you know, I didn't pull this out of the air. I read a lot of books, audio tapes, webinars, seminars. One of my favorites is something called The Magic of Colors. The gentleman named Jerry D. Ronald Clark. Jerry D. Ronald Clark, he was a millionaire by the time he was about 25. He teaches all around the country, around the world. He actually talks about the magic of colors and personality style in terms of how it relates to marketing, particularly network marketing. And he talks about how to apply it, because in network marketing, one of the things that you do is you have to recruit. And unfortunately, most people, the way to recruit, chasing people away. Anybody ever have somebody try to recruit them in a network marketing company? No, we all have. Did you get that call? Who didn't get the call? We called them later. And all of a sudden, a person falls into a black hole. Nowhere to be found, can't be reached, and not answer their phone anymore, right? And that's because they didn't even relate to the person. It's important to relate to people to see if they're interested. There's another one called Personality Plus by Florence Littauer. She also used those weird terms, phlegmatic, sanguine. So I'm not going to talk about that, but that's another resource. Here's one of my favorites. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Has anyone in here read that book? Audio book? If you haven't read it, you should read it. It's something it's a must read for anything that you do. If you're in relationships with people, if you're married, you have children, you're a grandparent, you work for someone else, people work for you, if you're in business, if you want to get along with people socially, read How to Win Friends and Influence People. But not in the wrong way. Right? It's about how to win friends and influence people. It talks about how to relate to people and how to use that strength and talent. Otto Kroger Associates did another personality study called the 16 personality types that determine your success on the job. A lot of times at jobs, in fact, there was a study done about why most people get fired from jobs. It's not because they lack technical skill. It's because of poor relationships that they have. Insubordination, right? Things of that nature. So a lot of it has to do with how you relate to other people. So relating to other people is very key, it's very important. It can be determine your success or failure in a lot of areas. Now, they're all singing Kumbaya. These are my 4 personality types. Red, yellow, green, and blue. And before we leave here today, you're going to know which color you are. And if you're not sure, we're going to help you find out. Let's get an introduction to the personality styles. Anybody ever heard of the golden rule by show of hands? Can somebody tell me what the golden rule is? You want to say it?
Who has the goal that makes the rules?
Say that again?
Who has the goal makes the rules?
That's the For those who didn't hear what he said, he who has the goal rules. That's the executive version of the goal. In New York it says, do unto others before they do unto you. But the bottom line is the golden rule is something that we're all familiar with. I want to share something with you today called the rainbow rule. Now the rainbow rule says do unto others as they want to be done unto them. In other words, treat people the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated. Because you might have some weird things that they don't like. So they don't want you to treat them the way you treat yourself, right? But the bottom line is, if you treat people the way they get treated, you can relate to them better. Doesn't that make sense?
Yes.
Right? That makes a lot of sense. Now we have, the great thing I mentioned this earlier, we have all 4 colors within us. Each one of you have all these 4 colors in you. But usually 1 or 2 are dominant and the other two. And that's important to know because that helps you relate to other people. We're going to talk about that, how you identify it. Knowing your dominant color also helps you when you quickly identify someone else's. And again, sometimes you have a chance meeting, you have maybe an interview with someone, maybe you're going to meet someone at a networking event, and you only have a few minutes to really relate to that person, to find out, something about them that helps you click, and help you connect. Now, I'm going to give you a word that I want everybody to write down. It's 4 letters. F-O-R-M. Stands for form. Because every time you have a conversation, one of these 4 things will come up. If you remember this in your conversation, it'll help you identify the person's color. The first one is family. Everybody you talk to, somebody you talk about their family, their children, their spouse, their parents, their relatives. They're going to talk about family. Then they talk about their occupation. That could be career, business, job. That's going to come up. Whether they're working or not working, looking for work, or changing jobs. They're going to talk about some kind of recreation. And recreation can be playing golf, going on vacation, finding a boss. And the last one is money. Everybody's talking about money, right? Because everybody needs money to survive in a capitalist society. So if you remember those 4 letters when you're talking to people and get good at asking questions, they will tell you more about them than help you determine what their likes are, what their dislikes are, and how you can relate to them. So remember that word form, okay? Now, what you really want to develop eventually is what I call a chameleon effect. I kind of alluded to this earlier. You want to be so good at identifying personalities and relate to other people that when you walk into a room, you can appeal to everyone in the room. Because if you're just one personality type or one color, you might alienate some other people. You won't relate to them well because you only know how to relate to the people that are like you. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. Now, the 4 behavioral styles are based on what I call external as well as verbal clues. Some of them you can see. But again, people can change, so sometimes people play off, but more than likely, it's almost automatic. Even somebody blind can determine because some of it is based on senses, voice, pitch, tone, right? You can hear it in somebody's voice, so there's other ways to determine that. And again, once you understand a personality type, now you can learn how to respond to them appropriately. Again, these are observable signs. Now, just some things to consider. When 2 more people get together, there are two things that are always present. One is tension and cooperation. By a show of hands, how many people want more tension in their lives? How many people want more cooperation? How many people don't know what they want? How many people are going to raise their hand no matter what I say? That says something about your personality type. So keep that in mind. Now, anytime you have high tension, you have low cooperation. You've been in meetings, if there's no cooperation, I remember years ago we had a Toastmasters club. In fact, Mr. Rochelle Jordan was the president and leader of the club at the time. And there was a gentleman, he wouldn't come to the meetings. He always had an opinion. He didn't like the way things ran, and he would always complain. And I said, well, why don't you join the club and run for an office and participate rather than complain from the sidelines? But he continued to do it, so there was a lot of tension. And when he finally did come to the club, he didn't do what he said he was going to do. So again, he created a lot of tension just by getting criticized from the sidelines, and when he came into the team, he wasn't cooperative, so he wasn't good to work with. Now, if you have low tension, you have high cooperation. And then when we were playing with the balls earlier and introducing people, there was one woman, I can't remember, but she kept asking the same question: how come people get to 9 speeches and they quit? She was asking questions, she wanted to know. Well, a lot of times, again, there's a lot of reasons you can find out why, but if you understand a person's personality type and why they wanted to get to that point, it would help. Again, maybe there's tension, maybe there's something going on, but again, if you can create an environment where you have more cooperation and less tension, you'll get better results. And again, one way to do that is work with understanding personalities. Now, to develop these reward relationships, you got to find out how to help another person maintain a certain level of comfortability by decreasing the tension level. You can help them decrease the tension level if you understand their personality type. And you will increase rapport, and the result will be increased cooperation. Now, here are the main reasons why increasing rapport and decreasing tension works. Because people don't like the change for the most part. Anybody agree to that? Now, and I forgot to mention, I like to work out, so when I don't get a chance to work out, I have to do a presentation, I get the audience to help me get it worked out. How many people know what I mean?
There you go.
How many people got a leg? That's why I just make sure you pay attention. Again, people resist change and they prefer to stay in the comfort zone. Am I right? You realize there's certain people, they come to the meeting, they only want to be the timer. Some people, you know, that's all they want to do. That's my clock. They come in and grab the clock. That's what they want. They don't want to give any speeches, right? They don't want to do anything else. Some people want to be sergeant at arms for 10 years. They never give a speech, right? People are comfortable where they are, so you have to help them feel comfortable. The second thing is people tend to develop rapport quicker with people who are more like themselves. How many people feel more comfortable with people that are like them, that have the same interests? Right? For example, if you're a football player and you're hanging out at a ballet school, you might not feel that comfortable. Right? If you're a ballet dancer and you're at a football at the gym, you might not feel comfortable. But if you're around people that are like you, whether it's sports, whether it's religion, whether it's community, whether it's race, whether it's sex, whatever it is that you have in common, the more that you have in common, the more comfortable you are with each other. Everybody knows that. And again, the last thing is people tend to develop rapport quicker with people who are more like themselves. People will always feel more comfortable speaking in language, or I say in their language. When I say in their language, I mean in their colors. So if you talk to somebody that's like you, you feel better. You ever meet somebody that says, I feel like I've known you for a long time? If I show hands, how many people met people that feel like they've known you for a long time? That's why. We have the same color. Now, the first way to distinguish colors is, these will help to distinguish the four categories, is that you either have an indirect or you're a direct person. Now, you're an indirect person if you approach risk, decision, and change slowly. You're indirect. You're direct if you approach risk, decisions, and change quickly. Successful people tend to make decisions very quickly. They don't waste a lot of time. Very decisive. You're indirect if you're infrequent contributors to your group conversation. If you're in a conversation like we had earlier today, there were some people that didn't participate a lot, or didn't say a lot. That means that's because they're more indirect. But there are some people that talked a lot and took over the conversation. They're very direct. Okay. Now, there are some people that allow other people to dominate the conversation. You see a conversation and one person always kind of out-talks the other. That's a person that's indirect. Again, a person that's direct dominates the conversation. Somebody that's indirect uses very few gestures. Very few gestures. Somebody that's direct uses a lot of gestures. You ever notice that? People that are very direct tend to be more animated. Indirect people tend to be more patient. Direct people don't have a lot of patience. They want to get it done now. Right? Very direct. Indirect people are less confrontational and not competitive at all. Right? They see competition, they back up. No, it's okay. You can have a chair. I know you're not always here first. But you can have it. And direct people are more confrontational and more competitive. Direct people are very competitive. Gotta win, gotta be first, gotta get to the top. Indirect people have a gentler handshake. Ms. Stephanie Burns did a great job really talking about how to do a proper handshake. Right? Web to web, and then was it 2 or 3 pumps? Right? Who was at that workshop? You guys are better handshakers for that, right?
That's right.
So that's the difference between indirect and direct. Now I'm going to ask you guys to indulge me a little bit. I know everybody's already sitting, everybody's comfortable. We're going to make it a little bit uncomfortable. For those of you who think you're indirect, I want you to sit on this side of the room. For those of you who think you're direct, I want you to sit to this side. Some of you are going to want to change seats. So if you're indirect, you sit on this side of the room, based on what I just shared. If you feel like you're more direct, I want you to sit on this side. Just change seats. Direct, indirect. Indirect on this side. My left, your right. Indirect is people, again, you approach decisions slowly. You don't contribute much to the conversation. You allow people to dominate. Tend to be more patient. More generous. Some people don't want to move. Again, the good thing about personality styles and behavior styles, even if you know that you're indirectly sitting in the direct side, you won't move. Your personality style. So some of you are sitting in the right place and some of you are, but I just want to give a demonstration. Okay? So now we at least separated the indirect from the direct. That's going to help you determine your color. I'm halfway there. I'll let you tell me. Now let's talk about open and self-contained. Now I want you to think about, as I describe these personality styles, think to yourself which one you are, not the one that you like to be. Now some people pick things that they like to be, but I want you to pick the thing that you know you are, because it's okay. There's no one better than the other. It's just that know where you are and it helps. Now you're open if you're the type of person that you're a people person, you're relationship-oriented people. You like being around people. You like being in groups. You're self-contained if you're more task-oriented and you're more driven by tasks as opposed to relationship. That's what motivates you. Relationship people want to spend time together, let's chat, they'll kill time. Direct people and self-contained people, listen, I got to get this thing done, bottom line. Open people, like they share their feelings freely. They're like the warm and fuzzy kind of people. They cry at movies. I cry at movies. Now, the self-contained people, they keep the feelings to themselves. Macho, tough. Gentlemen with men, hold it in. That's for the ego, but that's what we do. Open people make decisions on feelings. Self-contained people make decisions on facts and logic. Oh, it's logical. They don't care how things feel. It's logic. I got to do this. Other people, oh, it's not right. Open people are more relaxed and warm. Self-contained people are more formal, more tense, more proper. Open people are, they have an opinion, and their opinion is feeling oriented. Whereas self-contained people are fact and task oriented. Kind of something I already shared earlier. Open people are more flexible about time. This is going to be a good way to tell which one you are. Flexible about time. Open people are the ones that you'll come there for a meeting, a business meeting, and you'll sit there and drink coffee and tea and crumpets for 2 hours. And then leave and forget that's why you came. Self-contained people are more disciplined about their time. In fact, self-contained people, if the meeting was supposed to start at 3:30, at 3:31 they're like this. And they're going to stop.
This I agree.
Open people, they're friendly, they're warm, they have a warmer handshake. Self-contained people, very aggressive, strong handshake, more formal handshake. Open people, they show more enthusiasm than the average person. Enthusiastic, outgoing. You see the expression. Self-contained people, you don't know, they're excited about. Those are the people you have to say, if you're excited, I should tell you something. Nobody knows, right? And lastly, open people are more spontaneous. Hey, let's leave work and go have a beer. Right?
That's alcohol.
More spontaneous, right? But the self-contained person, they show more enthusiasm. They show more enthusiasm than the average person who is. It's actually less. And so now, based on that, you have the people that are indirect on this side and the direct on this side. That's correct? Now, no, the indirect people on this side and the direct on this side. Unfortunately, the room's not that big, so it's hard to do. Now, we're going to split the room out from front to back. If you are open, I want you to sit to the front of that camera. Okay. The open person, sit to the front. Yes.
Question.
Yes.
What happens when you're between both?
Make a decision.
That's where the camera is.
But I'm more of both. I'm with the
Yes,
best.
that's the thing about it.
Yeah.
It's not exact. Because you can be, like I said, you can be a chameleon. A chameleon is like equally distributed among all those personalities.
That's right.
They can be both. So you can fit in between. So it's okay if you're on one side. But the thing is, there's certain things that you know, whether you're more direct or indirect, whether you're open or self-contained. And I'm only going into it at a basic level.
Yeah.
Myers-Briggs goes into 16 different distinctions. That's where you would break it up and figure out exactly where you are. But again, logistically, I'm not going to have people around because it's just not logistically good to do. But I just want to show that's how we'll break up the room. Because I'm going to talk about different personality types. And for the rest of the session, I just want you to observe the different personality types. So now you know whether you're direct or indirect, and whether you're open or self-contained. That's going to determine which one of those 4 colors fits you most. No, don't move. Don't move. Now here's a chart. I'm going to give you actually a handout that kind of breaks it down a little bit better for you. Now again, as you can see, if you're open and you're direct, you're blue. Okay. If you're open and direct, you're blue. So some of you know your color, some of you are blue. If you're open and you're indirect, you're yellow. If you're indirect and you're self-contained, you're green. And if you're self-contained and direct, you're red. Now, I'm looking at this, it might look a little confusing. I see some people with the squinty eyes. What is that? Don't worry about it. We're going to give you a handout that actually breaks it down for you. You must explain what they are. Now, yellows make up about 35% of the population. Okay. And some of you have the handout. I'm going to actually read some of what it says here. Let's talk about their model. Yellows are the ones that say, let's be friends. They're motivated by relationships. They like to be friends. You find them in occupations like teachers, nurses, counselors, therapists. Right? Generally, you find them in those occupations. Now, it's not to say that they're all in that occupation, but generally, you find a lot of them in that type of occupation. They usually dress very casual and comfortable. And if we was able to set the room up, you would see that some of them dress casual and comfortable. Their strengths are they're dependable, they're team players, they're patient, they're supportive, and they're nurturing. And that's why they fall into the categories in terms of professional ability. What are their weaknesses? They tend to be oversensitive. Right? They follow us and they generally are not goal-oriented. Okay. Their key words are things like team, together, relationship, family. Again, relationship oriented. Their dislikes is they don't like pushy people. So if you're in a Toastmaster club and you're being pushy to somebody who's a yellow, you may push them away from the club. So it's good to know somebody is a yellow person in your club in terms of their personality style, because if they are, and you're on the opposite end, which is what I call a sharp or very strong will, you push that person away from your club. That's a person attracted to. So you need to match that person with somebody in their club, that's the yellow. Because they'll be sensitive to their needs and they'll make you feel comfortable. Does that make sense? Now let's go across the other side to the blues. The blues model is fun, fun, fun. Now, one thing about one blue model is, and this is something I notice about people that generally form this category, you can tell by the colors that they wear when they dress. Bright colors, splash, they stand out in the crowd. They're the ones that when they walk into a party, everybody knows where it is. They're the life of the party. They only care about having a good time. So if you told them about this event, they don't care about the workshops. They want to know what's in food, there's going to be a party. That's all they care about. They don't want to sit in workshops. Once they dress now, they stylish, flamboyant, colorful. Sometimes you can tell, because here's a quick question. Who in here, and this is the gentleman, anybody here would wear a red suit? Gentlemen.
Gentlemen.
Okay. You see a gentleman in a red suit.
You did.
He's at the extreme man. What are their strengths? They're good promoters. Why? They like having fun. You got to come to this conference. They're going to have food, they're going to have parties. Right? They're going to have a great time. They're enthusiastic, they're convincing. They're creative and high energy. The weakness is they talk too much.
But in Toastmasters, we have something for that. Green, yellow, and red.
You have somebody that's always going over time. They pull follow-up. They're unorganized, they exaggerate. The key words for them again is fun and excitement. So again, if you have somebody in the club, you know the people in the club that are like that. When there's an event, they bring their own cookies and they set things up and they're in their element, right? They didn't do any speeches yet. And dislikes not having fun. You want to kill the blue real quickly? Send them in a presentation where we sit at that desk and it's just PowerPoint slides, there's nothing funny, and you don't have a good time, they'll walk out. Your dislikes, not having fun, facts and figures. They don't care about facts and figures. Just tell them how to show them how to have a good time, being alone and not having fun. Let's go to the other side, to the green. Indirect and self-contained. Now, Green's motto is, let's get the facts and figures. Occupations, accountants, engineers, and researchers. Right? Are they concerned with numbers, facts, and figures?
Yes.
Right? Show me the facts. Start on time. Very direct. Again, their voice is generally soft and polite. I forgot to go over the voices of others, but it's on the sheet. Their dress is very formal and conservative. In fact, indirects, Green generally dress in dark colors like brown, greens, black, dark blue. They usually don't go out of that range. They dress as formal and conservative. And if you notice, they generally wear ties that have patterns on it. Lines, squares, circles, but in a pattern. Geometric. Most of the time.
So you're green, right? You're green.
Not talented.
You said you were an engineer.
Yes.
It could be a chameleon.
Weaknesses are they over-analytical. They overanalyze. We call it analysis paralysis. They analyze sometimes things so much, it never gets done. Right? It's like beating it to death. Sometimes they depress them on hard to please. That's their weaknesses. Over-analytical. The key words are why. Graphs, charts, research, and exactly possible. They use those terms a lot. It's the nature of their, and that's why you find them in those professions. They're dislikes, they don't like pushing people, they don't like having no facts. In fact, if you're in any kind of business and you go to somebody that's green, you don't have any facts, forget it. And they also take a long time to make decisions. So if you're dealing with somebody that's green, don't expect them to give you an answer right away. Because they're not. They need time to evaluate on their own. They have to do their research. Okay. Now let's go to the reds. Now you notice I put these pictures on them. The reds are like, I call them sharks. They're direct and self-contained. Their motto is, get out of my way. You got things to do. The occupation CEOs, attorneys, pilots, military colonels. Their voice is very forceful with volume. Yeah, their strength. They usually dress for success. You can tell that the shark a lot of times by the way they dress. They like expensive clothes. They have expensive taste. Again, they stress that they focus and goal oriented. When they go to an event, they come in to sign a contract. Give me the tea and crumpets later. You got a contract to sign, right? Then we'll get the tea and crumpets. Their weaknesses, their ego. They're short-tempered, impatient, and unteachable. Generally, reds are sharks are people that feel they know it all. You can't tell them anything. Very domineering personality types. They don't care about relationships. You just want to get it done. Stop crying, get it done. Anybody sees I think it's a Geico commercial when they have a military sergeant. That's the wrong colors. He should not be helping people. He's a shark. Keywords are money, power, get to the point, bottom line. Don't forget the detail. What's the bottom line? How much money can I make? When can I get started? How much is it going to cost? Dislikes and indecision. They don't like people that can't make a decision. They don't like chit-chat. So get to the point. They don't like losing control. Keep control. Now, those are the personality types, and again, you can pretty much determine where you may fall in that category. But again, remember, it's not an exact science. Some people have adapted very well over years. Because you could be an engineer, and I know some engineers that have a lot of fun. I know some people that are sharks that care about other people that are driven by relationships. So you can fit kind of in the middle. And we call it a chameleon because it's important. Because if we relate to everybody in the room, guess what? You have better results. If you're the president of the Toastmasters Club, and you're just in one box, you might be alienating some of the people in the club. So you have to learn to adapt. You have to learn to have fun. You have to learn not to be so tense if you're tense all the time. If you're always late and disorganized, you have to get organized. You have to kind of bring those things together, and then you'll attract more people to your club and have better results. Now here's just some more, I covered some of this, but here's some other personality types, and more direct with the yellows. And again, some people use terms like phlegmatic. We talk about whales and doves because when we talk about yellows, those are the animals that correlate to them. Again, let's be friends first. I think I covered both of these. Only thing I added was the kind of cars they'll drive. They'll drive like sedans. They drove vans in the 60s and Volkswagens. They care about the environment. They're dependable. Again, these are some of the things I already covered. These are the blues. They represent 15% of the population. Again, fun, fun, fun. That's why I highlight that. That's what stands out most of their minds. There's some people that will join organizations. They don't care if they don't accomplish one thing, but if they feel good every time they come, that's all they want. That's all they want to accomplish. If you know that, you can't push them because you got to do a speech today. You want to push them in a different way, but you want to be too pushy with them. You have to be more tactful with them. The greens, again, indirect and self-contained. The more like owls, they have the questions organized, accurate facts. Again, these are engineers, people that are more concerned with facts and figures and getting things done. And the reds, the sharks, eagles represent sharks. They're powerful, strong, domineering, get out of our way type attitude. Those are some of the things we covered. I got ahead of myself. And here's some key points, things that you don't want to do. Now that you understand the colors and you have a little better understanding as to what your personality type is. You don't want to use this information to change who you are or try to change others. So if you're married and you've got this information, you go home and turn your wife from blue to red. Not meant to change people, it's to understand who they are and relate to them better. I know some people say, yeah, you're a blue, you're a red. Don't use the weaknesses you find as a mental crutch now for, instead use them for compelling reasons to get better every day. Now some people say, see, I knew why I could never give a speech because I'm the wrong color. So don't use it as an excuse or a crutch. Use it as a reason, a compelling reason to say, you know what, I know I'm this way, and if I can change, you can improve, again, a lot of ways, your business, your success, your relationships, in all areas, if you just change a little bit, and just be more understanding. Try to put yourself in the other person's color. And now you understand how they think and how they are and how they, just how they're made, you can relate to them better as opposed to just being upset and annoyed about what they're doing. Again, you have to, if you understand what they're doing, you can relate to them a lot better. Don't get caught up thinking one color is better than another. Again, we have all 4 colors in us, but some of them are, again, more dominant than others. Again, they all have their weaknesses and strengths. Whatever your color is, work on your weaknesses and improve your strengths. And then see if you can start to add some of the other strengths of the other personality. Again, you have to get out your box, get out of the box. And I tell you, joining Toastmasters for me, he's a comedian, Sarah. I was getting out of my box. I was the person least likely to be in front of a room talking to people when I was in high school. Least likely. If you told some of my classmates that I was in front of a room with about 30, 40 people doing a presentation, they would say, you're lying. Not done. Right, so I had to adapt. You have to change. Don't go around labeling people. Sometimes we go around and you may start calling people these different colors and they don't even know what it means. All right, so don't do that. Don't go around using it and calling people names by color. And don't use information to get people to do things that's to your benefit. And that, these personality types. Don't go use it now use it for good. How about that? Makes sense? I want to thank you for showing your colors today. My name is Derek Hawks. Thank you for the time.
On behalf of Mr. Dave, we'd like to just offer you a little token of appreciation for presenting this workshop for us today. Thank you very much.